My name is Bert, and this is the Still Life Podcast. Welcome back to another episode of the Still Life Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Bert. It is Tuesday, December 14th. Just 11 short days till Christmas. It's 60 degrees in Kansas City, unseasonably warm, which is okay. I'll take it. Never been much for cold weather. I'm good for a couple weeks of it, enough to kill off all the pollen and mosquitoes, and then I'm ready for spring. Yet I've been a lifelong resident of the state of Missouri. People are friendly, cost of living is relatively low, and the pace of life isn't too fast or too slow. So I find myself being content here. Although I really love the ocean. For the most part, it's just not cost effective or efficient to live on the coast for me. But believe me, if I could live in close proximity to the beach, you better believe I would. I'd still be able to go fishing, I'd still be able to go hiking, but I'd also be able to go surfing and just walk on the beach. There's something to be said for those who get to spend their time near the ocean on a regular basis. A lot of people take it for granted. They don't understand the calming effect or healing power of the beach and the ocean. But that's okay. I'll visit when I can. Getting closer and closer to Christmas, I'm really working to get more into the holiday spirit. Not something I've done very well over the last 15 years. But in working through my traumas and trying to make myself a better person, for myself, for my children, I find that taking the steps to making Christmas memories for my kids is much easier this year than in years prior. For a long time, Christmas for me was very important because I could give gifts. Money wasn't an object. I was doing quite well financially, and I could buy people things that I wanted to buy them. I didn't have to worry about how much things cost or even what people wanted because I could afford to pay for it. In the last several years, my Christmases have been very lean. Gifts become more thoughtful because I have a very tight budget. I've made a lot of homemade gifts. Soaps, hats, scarves, things like that. And I've realized I need to be less concerned with what or how I'm gifting and more concerned about the memories I'm creating around the holidays, particularly Christmas. Putting up the tree, putting lights on the house, making homemade ornaments, watching Christmas movies. Again, in the last 10 to 15 years, that's been something that's been very not me. Bad memories of Christmas as a young adult. Not my family's fault. Went through a traumatic divorce in the early 2000s. And it happened right around Christmas and was very tumultuous, stressful, and really, I let that experience rob me of my ability to experience joy around Christmas. But this year, I'm making an effort. I'm being intentional about the things that I do, trying to be more cheerful, listening to Christmas music here and there, although I much prefer punk Christmas covers to traditional Christmas music, but it's still Christmas music nonetheless. I put lights on the house for the first time ever. I got the tree up by myself without assistance. And this weekend, when my oldest daughter comes into town, the four of us will all gather around and put ornaments on the tree. And I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to creating memories with my 2-year-old, my 4.5-year-old, and my 17-year-old. And memories for myself. Because ultimately, we can control two things. That's how we react to a situation and how we respond. And so this year I'm choosing to react and respond differently to Christmas. I'm choosing to make that effort not just for myself so that I can begin to experience joy again during the holidays, but so that my children can as well. Because at the end of the day, while certainly in some small part it's about me, it's more so about creating those memories with my children. Some days it's not easy. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to put decorations out. I don't want to listen to Christmas music, watch Christmas movies. I don't want to look at the tree. But other days, it's easier. I'm in a good mood, happy. I'm excited to share Christmas joy with my kids. It's a process, and I'm always a work in progress. I'm not going to have perfect days every day, nor will I be perfect. And that's okay. There's days I don't move forward. I might move laterally to the left, to the right. But I do my best not to take a step backwards. Continual growth, learning to heal, overcome, and improve. To show myself grace and forgiveness, where for the longest time I never thought that I deserved it, especially not from myself. You see, the older I get, the more I realize I've been pretty mean to myself, and in some cases downright abusive to myself. To experience that from a partner would be intolerable. Grounds for a breakup. Yet I've allowed myself to treat me that way for so long. And it's time I start making a change. So I'm striving to grow, to be better. Again, not just for me, for my kids as well. They're so observant, whether it's something I say, something I do, how I react or respond to a certain situation. They learn from those things. You see, a lot of behaviors aren't something that we're born with. They are learned. And when you look at it that way, what do you want your children to learn? What do I want my children to learn about reacting and responding to situations? Treating people with kindness, love, compassion. Treating ourselves with kindness, love, and compassion. We deserve no less. Show love inwardly so that you can show love outwardly. It's not this change that we make all of a sudden and it's immediate. It's little things, day by day, minute by minute. As we meet one small goal, we add another, and then another. A series of small steps. We don't reach that mountaintop in one giant step or leap, but a series of small, calculated movements forward and upward. Sometimes we have to move laterally. Sometimes we have to pause and figure out where the next step is so that we can have good footing to move forward. But we get there, slowly but surely. and life is no different. And with that, I'd like to thank you for joining me today on the Still Life Podcast. Don't forget to give us a follow on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at the Still Life Podcast, and Twitter at Still Life Pod. As always, for questions, comments, topic ideas, or suggestions, you can email us, thestilllifepodcast@gmail.com. That's thestilllifepodcast@gmail.com. Thanks again for joining me today on the Still Life Podcast. We'll talk again soon.